The first thing that I had to do is there's a very huge ambition, right? And pretty audacious ambition in the middle. It was like, no, here in Minnesota, I'm going to form a completely new foundation, a new future for American whiskey that tastes better than what they've been doing in Kentucky for 150 years. That's pretty arrogant, pretty ambitious, pretty audacious. I think it's all true, but I also had to have the humility to understand that I was not going to get it right the first time or the 10th time or the 100th time. Maybe by the 1,000th time, I would start to lock this in. So Brother Justice, the company actually started in 2013. And between 2013 and 2019, we were in a legally licensed and permitted distillery in a basement in Northeast Minneapolis underneath a warehouse. Nobody knew we were there. And we were just running through iteration.
I think I went there, though.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, but I mean, nobody from a popular thing.
I knew the passcode or something.
That's right. It was a little bit like going into a Saw movie. Like you were either going to, right, something either terrible or magical was going to happen at the end of the journey.
Or both.
Or both. When Anthony Edwards is just wowing everybody and dropping 37 points and hitting 3-pointers and his mid-range is hot and he's Euro stepping through the lane or he's just rising up over and dunking on people, well, that's the stuff you see. What you don't see is all the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of Anthony Edwards in the gym, right? So the path to greatness, I really believe, is refusing to let anyone outwork you or out-endure you and to do all the things when no one is looking that you have to do to master it. So that's what we were doing in the basement.
Some people call that the 10,000-hour rule.
10th hour, yeah, that's exactly it. And so I took that quite literally, or as literally as I could. I thought, we can't begin this business until we have 10,000 hours into making this one thing. We're going to work with one type of grain, malted barley, pale ale malt. Now, we're not even going to mess around with different kind of malts. We're going to use one type of oak, Minnesota-grown white oak. No barrel finishes with sherry or port or anything like that. These are all variables that distract from mastering the most important things, which is how do you make a beer because whiskey is distilled beer, it's literally beer, right? How do you make a beer that has all the flavors and textures of deliciousness in it? And then how do you run your still so you're only catching out of that distillate the most delicious
So you had
things?
about 6-7 years of just pure R&D.
Pure R&D. And then only when we could figure out, not only when we had a prototype, the prototype comes relatively early, then it has to be replicable. Can it replicate through scale? So kind of like a tech entrepreneur would, I've got this code that works for 100 users. I'm not going to make money off of 100 users. I need to figure out how to make this work for 1 million users or 10 million users. And the code breaks when you try to scale it. So the smart entrepreneur figures out where the code's going to break and then builds the patches and the ways that are going to fix that so that they can scale smoothly. We did the same thing in that basement. We got our core recipes, our core prototypes, and then we tested it. Then we tried to scale it up. We changed the type of still we used. We changed the volume of still we used. We found all the ways that recipe would break and then figured out how to solve through those breaks in order to be able to create smooth progression and consistency. The secret, the fundamental truth of whiskey is that it is beer rain. So its fundamental quality is based on the quality of the beer. And it's not the beer that you would drink. That's not going to work. It's, do you have a beer that has the flavors that you want to drink when they're concentrated in whiskey? That's the whole secret. And nobody else that I could see from my research was making whiskey that way. Not in Scotland, not in Kentucky. And so I understood that there was no one to teach me. There was no one else's template to follow that would lead me to do something truly new that could endure and leave a mark. So I would have to teach myself, and then I would have to find the right like-minded people who wanted to master something and leave an enduring mark. Not just sort of like, do a quick cash out or milk a salary, but somebody who wants a name. 200 years from now, people are still drinking Brother Justice. And remember, Phil Steger founded it. James Jefferson was our first master blender and distiller. So James Jefferson was the key for me. He is still our master blender, but he started as my brewer. And I was like, James, I want a whiskey that tastes like X. And I gave him all the details of the flavors and everything. Can you make me a beer that has baked peaches, caramel apples, bananas Foster, banana bread, like all these different flavors. Can you give me the chemistry? And I knew that was theoretically possible from my own independent research. I just didn't know how it was practically doable as a brewer. And James's answer to me was, and I'll never forget, he's like, that's weird, but yeah, how much time do I got? And then I realized, this is just a matter of iterative design now.